Hey people, today I would like to give you a simple and practical tip on how you can practice your instrument or any other skill more effectively. At a workshop in Iran, one of the participants asked me how he could have more energy to practice. He would practice guitar for half an hour every day, and after that he could no longer concentrate. First I said, what's the problem? Half an hour a day is great. That is much more than most people practice. But of course, the more time we focus on learning and practicing, the better we become. Unfortunately, practicing is very strenuous mentally. But for everyone who wants more, there is a very simple tip. Take breaks before you are exhausted. For example, every 10 to 15 minutes, take a deep breath and take a sip of water, and take a longer break every 30 minutes, for example. Then the total time of practicing is longer, but the net time that we really actively learn is longer too. And that's what it's all about. You just hold out longer. I used to think it was cooler to just push through, to sink my teeth in a topic, but that way I exhausted myself a lot faster. By now, I know about the importance of breaks. I take power naps and treat myself to relaxation every now and then. And I also made a video about why and how we can use recovery in a targeted manner. By the way, taking breaks has another advantage. You always remember best the things that came up at the end. That is, the more breaks you take, the more things you can keep, because we give the subconscious the chance to do its work. And that means to process what we have acquired, so that it is stored in long-term memory. Now there is a very simple principle how you can take advantage of the breaks and at the same time use the time much more effectively. Switch between topics and thus take an active break. Especially when you are working on technically or coordinatively demanding things, you cannot really concentrate for more than a few minutes. Your body and mind need rest, but in the meantime, you are doing something else that is also strenuous but challenges other skills. This is a very typical principle in sport. Circuit training. You do one set of an exercise and then rest for 3 minutes before repeating the exercise 2 or 3 times to get the training effect. But in these 3 minutes, you can train a different muscle, and so you switch between 2 or even 3 exercises back and forth. This has 3 advantages. First, you save time. Second, you stay active and motivated, because third, the pulse rate stays high, and so it is automatically an additional cardiovascular training. When practicing, this means that you are alert the whole time, stay awake and focused, but one area of your brain always has the opportunity to briefly recover and process what you have learned, and when you return to it, it sometimes works a lot better, and that's an amazing feeling. I can say that from my own experience. Of course, it works best when the exercises complement each other. So do things that are not too similar and not too different, and best taken together, improve an important skill. This way you work on the individual building blocks for the bigger picture, and in the end you feel the progress. For example, you alternate between a technique exercise and a coordination exercise that you both need for the song you want to play. Or you can practice a technique for a few minutes with one hand and then with the other. For the drummers, if you want to learn open-handed, you could, for example, practice a groove for a few minutes on one side and then you switch to the other for a few minutes. You will find out how to best apply this principle to your current topics. So this method prevents frustration because you are not clinging to one thing. Progress motivates you and you use the time efficiently. It works best if you set a timer. For me, it works pretty well with 7 minutes per topic. So 7 minutes one exercise, then straight away I change to another topic for 7 minutes, then again 7 minutes on the first exercise, and then again 7 minutes on the second one. Then a short break, and then you can repeat that again or do it with 2 other exercises, or you play a song at the end. This way, this method also helps you to structure your practice time. So depending on how much time and energy you have, you can do 1, 2 or even 3 sets of it. This may remind some of the famous Pomodoro technique, in which you work for 25 minutes straight and then take a 5-minute break, and then you do that 4 times. And with 4 times 7 minutes you get almost the same length. The principle is once again very universal. You can only concentrate for a certain time and then you need a break. And within the focused work, you can then consciously alternate the topics again. For some, that may sound a little too rigid and mechanical, but try it out. Practicing, learning, even in the artistic field, needs a system and structure, because that gives orientation and helps to avoid procrastination. Very important, we should not confuse this approach with multitasking. That would be if we were constantly switching back and forth between completely different tasks or categories. We practice all the time, but alternate the exercises. So we stay in the same mindset, just focus our attention on different topics that we practice and that are in the best case related. This is why here's just another very important note. The topics must not be too similar, especially when it comes to memorizing, because this could lead to the so-called interference, meaning you mix it up in your memory. So do not practice two similar techniques or two similar scales alternately, for example, but alternate them with a completely different topic, which also best brings you closer to your larger goal. Or alternate between two different exercises, but for the same technique, the same topic. The same goes for different pieces of music that you practice and want to memorize. You shouldn't jump back and forth between them, otherwise you could confuse parts of the song in your memory. Better switch back and forth between a point in a piece that you are currently working on and a technique that you need exactly for this. And do the same with another song that you're working on in the next set, after a short break, or on another day even. By the way, this method has another great advantage. You can manage your time very well, especially if you only have a short time to practice because you have an appointment, or you can only use your rehearsal room for a short time. You are distracted because you constantly look at the clock. But if you set the timer in such a way that you make the most of the time available to you, you can get fully involved in the moment, be relaxed and focused because you know that the alarm clock will go off on time. That's it already. This tip is that simple and practical. You should always take breaks to ensure the learning effect and to stay fit. Because recovery is part of training, just like practicing and learning, which is particularly mentally exhausting. If you actively fill this necessary incubation time with another topic, you can get even more out of your practice time by interweaving several cycles and combining the topics in such a way that they complement each other. This method is certainly not a panacea. Sometimes you should immerse yourself in a topic for a long time. But this principle is a pretty cool learning hack that automatically combines two things that are so important to learning: recovery and repetition. It also ensures through the changes and variety that we do not become tired. Concentration and motivation remain high. Give it a try. Remember that you have to get used to the method first and find out which duration, number of repetitions and so on work best for you. But then it can be a real secret weapon at your disposal. As always, please write your experiences in the comments. Also, send this video to friends, family or co-workers who have a tendency to get caught up in something and then get frustrated. Perhaps this principle can also help them. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so now, because I still have many such learning hacks that I would like to share with you. So, see you in the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.